All right, folks, can you all hear me? Gene, can you hear me?
I can hear you,
Yes.
but
Okay.
they're all muted.
All right. Just want to make sure that that you can hear me. We'll give them 1 minute to start logging in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. We're going to start here in about a minute. We're just letting everyone get logged in real quick, and then we'll be starting in just a few moments.
All right, let's get started. Well, good morning, folks, or at least to those in attendance from the Pacific Mountain and Central Standard Times. It's still morning technically, but for our friends from the East, I believe it's 12 noon your time. So good afternoon. It's perhaps a little more appropriate for you all. Good afternoon. I want to wish everyone a happy Pollution Prevention Week. And for those who either are unsure what that is or have never heard of it, P2 Week is basically an annual event in which programs and organizations and agencies across the nation promote the importance of pollution prevention. So typically the event highlights some of the actions that businesses, communities, and in many cases individuals that have taken significant steps to reduce pollution at its source, which is P2. Today you're going to hear some highlights from several speakers about a P2 project that was implemented here in the Pacific Northwest. But before we start with our presentation, perhaps it's a good idea that I introduce myself. My name is Ed Gonzalez. I'm the director of the Pollution Prevention Resource Center. Many of you know us as PPRC. We are a nonprofit organization. We're located in Seattle, Washington, and we were founded in 1991. We were founded to provide and develop pollution prevention information, provide technical training and technical assistance to small businesses, small communities, industrial facilities, and we've done so in well over 40 sectors. So we're very excited that you all took some of your valuable time to attend our presentation. Today's webinar is titled Pollution Prevention in EJ Communities. Next slide. So this webinar is made possible by a source reduction grant from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. This was a 2-year grant, and we had our fair share of successes, but we also had many challenges, and we're excited to have the opportunity to share with you what our experience was and some of the lessons that we learned during the course of the project. So what were the goals and scope of the project? Basically, there were 4. We aimed to assist at least 6 small businesses located in disadvantaged communities throughout the Pacific Northwest. More specifically, we aimed to help them reduce the amount of hazardous wastes or contaminants that are usually generated from spray painting processes. Secondly, we aim to host at least 2 roundtable discussions with the management of those small businesses about the importance of pollution prevention and how P2 can help them improve their environmental footprint in these EJ communities. We also wanted to emphasize how P2 can be a positive force in helping them improve their bottom line, which is profit. Thirdly, we wanted to conduct P2 assessments in those participating shops and develop P2 recommendations based on some of the information that we gleaned during some site visits. And finally, we wanted to help those facilities, those shops with technical assistance and guidance on how to implement those recommendations. Slide 3. Here you're seeing the team. This slide probably displays the project team, with the top row representing today's speakers and the bottom row representing staff members that were critical to the overall success of the project. So on the far left top, I'm Ed Gonzalez. This photo was taken 10 years ago, so my hair is starting to change color. We have Ken Grimm. He is our industry outreach manager, and he leads our spray efficiency training program. We have Michelle Gaither, who is our industrial engineer, and she works on all of our P2 projects. And one interesting project that Michelle is working on right now is helping manufacturers qualify their products under EPA's Safer Choice label. And we could use more manufacturers that want to certify their products under the Safer Choice label. So if any of you participating in this webinar have any leads for us, please put in the question box on your GoToWebinar the names of some of the companies that you think we could contact and encourage them to participate in that project. We also have Jean Waters, and she's a senior project manager here at PPRC. We have Dave Coons. He's a contractor for us, and he teaches currently at Portland State University and was formerly an employee with the Oregon DEQ. At the bottom, we have Angel Contreras Cruz, who was an intern for us during this project, and he was our Spanish speaker. Angel recently received his PhD at Portland State University, so very much congratulations to Angel for that huge accomplishment. He was very instrumental to this project, and right now he has accepted a position at the city of Gresham. So that's really good news for not only Angel but for PPRC. And the rest is Mikey Strawhall, Justin Myers, and Ara Vickers. They were also instrumental in the project because they were basically the boots on the ground for this project. Next slide. Now, I can't emphasize enough the importance of having quality partners when trying to carry out a project. These partners that you're seeing here on the screen, without them, I just don't think that this project would have been possible. They were key in helping us identify, contact, and convincing these shops to participate in the project. So we have the City of Gresham. We have Rockwood Community Development Corporation's East County Business Bridge. Well, a long title there. Society of Collision Repair Specialists, the Northwest Auto Care Alliance, the Northwest Automotive Trades Association, and the Washington Independent Collision Repair Association. So again, just keep in mind that in many cases, if not all, the partnership that you assemble to partake in any of your projects may very well determine whether you will find a reasonable level of success, or in some cases, many challenges in your implementation efforts. And with that, I think I will now turn the mic over to Jean Waters. She's the first presenter. So Jean, take it away.
Thank you, Ed. And we're going to start, folks, with a poll question for you. Ken, if you want to launch that for me, that'd be fabulous. The question is, do you want to get a certificate of completion? We have had some people who have asked for that. And so the easiest way for us to facilitate that is for you to just answer this question, yes, if you would like to get a certificate of completion. And then I also, did you launch it, yet, Ken? I don't, let me, oh, okay, here's the poll question. It's launched now. And Ed Gonzalez, could you mute yourself, please? Because I'm getting, there we go. Thank you, getting some feedback. So here's the poll question. It's open. If you'd like a certificate of completion, please say yes. If you don't want one, you can say no. And then we can email those certificates of completion to you when we're finished here, and be in a couple of days. And also, I just wanted to remind you, we would love to have your questions as you think of them during the webinar. The format of GoToWebinar is such that you all are muted, but if you would put your question in the question box on your GoToWebinar panel, then we will be able to come back. At the end, we have time for questions and answers, and so we'll come back and address any questions that we've seen come in.
Closing the poll, Gene, do you want me to share it or should we just move on?
Oh, let's just move on.
Okay, you got it.
Okay, so am I back? Can you see the timeline now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is the timeline that we had for this project. And you can see that we started we used the EJ Screen tool, which is the EPA's EJ Screen. And I think if people aren't familiar with that, you can ask a question about that and we can give you more information. But we identified the high and medium ranges for socioeconomic indicators. And we used 2 environmental factors for air toxics, respiratory and air toxics cancer, and identified areas that would meet those criteria. And then we looked for auto body collision repair shops and cabinet manufacturers. And so we did that initial research and found these areas of where we were going to target our outreach. Then we arranged for 3 online roundtables, and we contacted more than 100 businesses, local fire chiefs, and automotive associations to help us reach these businesses. But then these were scheduled for June, but we canceled these roundtables because the only registrants that we had for these were some pollution prevention technical assistance specialists from the state of Washington. So instead of having roundtables with manufacturers or auto body shops, since we didn't have any that signed up for it, we had a roundtable with these P2 technical assistance folks. And they provided some information for us. They said that many things that made us some good suggestions on what to do to try to reach the businesses and get them engaged. One thing that was interesting to me, having been in pollution prevention for a long time, was that these pollution prevention folks, or at least some of them, said they didn't really know what a roundtable was. So I guess it just shows that, for one, I'm out of step with the times, because I thought people knew what roundtables were. In any case, we kept going. We said, okay, we need to go back and conduct door-to-door interviews with some of these shops. And so that's what we did. And I've got the results of that coming up in the coming slides. And then we started working more closely with these trade associations. And we were able to promote a roundtable with their members, and we were going to have it at a community college close to them. It included dinner and door prizes, and they worked hard to help us promote that roundtable, but not very many people signed up, and so we canceled that one. And so then we pivoted to try to just come along beside existing meetings. And so that was the next pivot that we did, and that was a little bit more successful. So we attended association meetings and we facilitated some of these spray efficiency trainings, SET. And that was in April and May. And then we were able to secure the site assessments that we were trying to get. And then now we're conducting this webinar. So that's a timeline of our project. So some of the things that the P2 specialists said to us was that as we were trying to find our own clients, they said our flyer was too text heavy, and that people didn't know what a roundtable was. And then the pollution prevention specialists thought we should offer some monetary incentives such as free equipment. And that is done in the state of Washington. They do offer free equipment, and they get more clients that way. And then they also felt like the summer season was a bad season, and that perhaps the time of day that we were trying to schedule the roundtable was during the day, and that didn't work well for these smaller shops for their work schedule. So these were all very helpful suggestions that we got from the pollution prevention specialists in Washington. So here's a summary of some of our pivot points. We were assuming the needs and incentives, but instead we took an effort and interviewed our target audience personally. We were offering broad pollution prevention services, but instead, based on some of the comments from Washington P2 specialists, we decided we have something of value that we can offer, which is the spray efficiency training. And we've got more on that coming up. So we wanted to promote the spray efficiency training a little bit more. And then instead of trying to just gather people together on our own, we thought it'll be better for us to come alongside existing events. And then another piece, the trade association existing events. And then the other piece was the Gresham-based economic development nonprofit. They were a very instrumental partner for us. So those are some of the pivots that we made during this project. So when we went out to talk to the shops in person, we made this small flyer. It was like a quarter-size sheet of paper, and it was printed by a printer so that it looked legit and that they could see that we were, you know, had an organization behind us, and we led with what we want to do is save money, reduce toxic exposure, and then provide free technical assistance. And so we did that, and we had a QR code for them to go online and take the survey, but we found that people weren't doing that, so we just asked them the questions, and then we compiled the answers to the questions ourselves because people wouldn't even go online to take the survey. So here's some of the results. One of the things that we wanted to be able to promote was the spray efficiency training. So a question that we asked is, are you hiring trained painters or do you train them yourselves? And so we thought if they're having to do the training themselves, they might be more interested in the spray efficiency training. You can see that some hire them already trained, some do both, but quite a few just train them themselves. One of the things that happens when you do in-house training is it can perpetuate bad technique. You're learning from the guy who learned from the guy who learned from a different guy, and typically this is a P2 opportunity because people don't know why they paint and clean and prepare the way they do. It's just been taught to them. So they may not, this is a potential opportunity for them to improve their technique, to understand more about the chemicals that they're using, the reason that they're doing these different cleanings, and so forth. So we thought this was good, provided an opportunity for us, and the spray efficiency training would be a opportunity for these shops if they could take it. And then we were thinking one of the typical things you can do with pollution prevention is help people reduce their hazardous waste and air emissions. And so we asked them, do you have any questions about your air quality permits or your hazardous waste requirements? And you can see the majority did not have any questions about that because they're smaller shops and they're really not having to deal with these issues very much. And then we asked if they would be interested in a sustainability walkthrough. And you can see here only 8% said that they would be. Most people said that they wouldn't be, and a few people said maybe, which we felt like was thoughtful. When you're talking to somebody in person, you don't want to come right out and say no, but they did say maybe. So they were leaving the door open. And then I wanted to point out here that many of these smaller, or many automotive repair shops and auto body shops are owned by corporations. We found that these corporate shops are doing their own training. Everything is dictated by the corporate shop. So that is a different kind of an opportunity to try to reach the corporate headquarters to get some of these pollution prevention techniques integrated into what they're doing and how they're training their people. One of the really important things that happened as we were trying to do these interviews was we had Angel helping us do the interviews. And Angel went through Facebook, identified a lot of these automotive body shops via Facebook. And these shops were not in our database. And so he was able to go locally to some of these shops, and because he is a native Spanish speaker, he was able to talk to them and he found a fair amount of interest among these shops. And I think part of it might be because they may not have had the opportunity to be offered improvement programs like this. So because they speak Spanish. And so then furthermore, what Angel did was he translated the notes that we use for training into Spanish, because when we do this spray efficiency training, Ken Grimm is going to talk more about this in a minute, but there is a lecture component to that training. And so it was important for the notes to be translated into Spanish. And then Angel did some simultaneous interpretation during the lecture, during the training, which is very difficult to do. So don't underestimate how difficult it is to do simultaneous interpretation. It's really not easy. And then Angel participated when we did the site assessment for this for the body shops that were Spanish speakers. Angel participated there, which was important. And then, as I kind of indicated earlier, we really leaned heavily on the relationships, and I think Ed indicated this as well. NADA, the Northwest Auto Trades Association, tried to create an event, and they promoted it. We had door prizes and free dinner, but we didn't have enough. And so these were members of this trade association, but that wasn't enough to get them there. So the other things that we were able to do then instead was to participate with existing trade association events or meetings. So that now the city of Gresham, they were able to create an event. They had very good connections with their businesses, and we were able to create an event with the city of Gresham. But with the trade associations, we had to come alongside an existing event. And then with Woodfold Manufacturing, Michelle's going to talk about them as our case study. They had been a client in the past, and we were able to engage them again. And they wanted to engage again with us because we've been able to provide them help in the past. And then we had an airline maintenance facility, and we found them from the city of Gresham. When Gresham did their outreach, this facility was part of, they got the information from Gresham, and they needed the NESHAP certification. So they participated with us, and they appreciate the help that we gave them, the training that we gave them, and they're recommending us to other facilities. So just, again, networking and relationships really were key for us. And so now, Ken, I'll turn it over to you, and I'll keep advancing the slides.
Okay. And you can start right off by advancing. So we've been doing the spray efficiency training. I'll touch on that at the end here for quite some time. And one of the things that's changed over the years, I came to PPRC having spent about 18 years in industry and manufacturing. And one of the things that's changed over time is that there are an increasing number of painters that primarily speak a language other than English, Russian, Chinese, predominantly Spanish, and some speak English pretty well. Some have a very limited knowledge, and some speak virtually none. And most prominently, this is in the collision repair sector. And one of the reasons we chose this was also because many of these shops are in or near residential areas. You find that sometimes with other sectors like industrial or maybe shipyard, but collision repairs, definitely there's a lot of them in residential areas. And it's now a $26 billion market in the US, almost well over 150 billion globally. And so the training is, there are different types that we do. One is a classroom training, and that you don't have to go in a booth and don your PPE or do anything. Everything can be done in the classroom with the virtual reality equipment developed by the Iowa Waste Reduction Center at the University of Northern Iowa. Well, some of them are facility specific, where a company will hire us like Woodfold, and we'll go in and do it there. And then we do a lot of training of students and train the trainer training with instructors for schools that have collision repair programs. Go ahead, Gene. So we're using a virtual reality system. The first one that we started using was purchased on a federal grant by Oregon DEQ. It was the 2D system, and that's kind of what you're looking at here in these two photos. He steps up and he's painting, in this particular case, he's painting a door. This is the automotive module. And it's got a ton of diagnostic features that are very helpful. In this particular case, you see the photo on the bottom. When he's done, you can go into that diagnostic mode, and where the paint is green, shows green on the screen, he's within the target film build. Where it's blue, he's light, and where it's red, he's too heavy, and where it's black, he's getting a run. So painters can work on their technique over and over again without wasting product, wasting paint, or causing any problems in terms of rework. And it's a great tool for them. They'll get together in the training, and they're a very competitive lot. So whatever, if I get up there and score an 81, you can bet that my buddy is not going to quit until he gets at least an 82. So anyway, we can accomplish all this without having to add to the environmental footprint by using paints and chemicals in training and wasting those. Next. So we had 3 trainings as part of this project. One was in Gresham, as Gene noted. There were 18 painters in that particular one. Angel was there providing live translation services, and half of the painters that we had in Gresham needed that and took advantage of it. And this was a classroom style, and we'll have a video a little later that shows kind of what that might look like. Woodfold, as Gene mentioned, we had done work with them before. They made a case study out of the original training that we did with them and determined that they saved between $34,000 and $38,000 in paint after the training, the year after the training, and this despite the fact that their production increased 10%. And then at Lakeside, we that was with the Industry Association, and that was at a school, Clover Park Technical College, that had a collision repair program. And so we had a mix of both painters and students there. And so next, Gene. So here's a look at this a video. I'm going to run this. It's 41 seconds, so it's really quick. But you can see this is a classroom type. If they're, they move the desks and chairs, or tables and chairs, and they have it. They have a large TV screen on a stand, and they have a couple of projector screens, so that if you're doing the 2D, you would be spraying on the screen. If you're doing the 3D, those are there so that everybody else in the room can see what the painter with the VR headset is seeing when he's doing the practice. Go ahead, Gene. So if you just walk in on this, it looks a little weird, but you can see in the background of these guys, now she's doing the 2D. The rest of them are doing the 3D, so it looks like they're shooting into the air. But when you have the goggles on, it actually looks like you're in the booth. There's different modules, so there's aerospace, there's wood products manufacturing, there's shipyard, there's auto body, and so that industrial, so that you're practicing on the types of and shapes of materials that you would see if you were actually in the shop. That's a look at the 3D goggles that you put on. And this system, again, it's from 3R Products at the University of Northern Iowa's Iowa Waste Reduction Center. And it's really a fabulous system. So we've been doing these trainings. I've been doing these trainings with PPRC since 2003. You can see some of our long-term partners are our environmental agencies and other groups that are interested in seeing these things work. There's bilingual training available now. We can do it with translation, or sometimes there'll be somebody in the room that one person that needs translation, and there'll be a supervisor at the shop or something that provides that. But it started with hands-on training in a booth, and that progressed in 2010 to the 2D system when Oregon got that system. Washington got the 3D system in 2021. And so overall, we've got savings since we've been doing this to businesses, and we've done more than 500 of a little over $16 million. And admittedly, these are calculated savings, but they're based on 10 years of quantifiable data gathered at the Iowa Waste Reduction Center. So they're reasonably accurate, and the hazardous material reductions and the VOC reductions have been sizable as well. The paint doesn't really translate too much into carbon reductions, so we don't really track that. The figure would be pretty minimal, but so far the program's been a real success. We're continuing to do it. I'll be doing another one north next week, and one of the companies we did in Portland that Gene mentioned, that's an aerospace company. When we're doing this training up north, there's that same company's Washington branch wants to send some of their painters to the training. So it's been very effective.
And now it's thanks, Ken, for your presentation. And I just want to mention before you take it over, Dave, that that spray efficiency training that we did in the Seattle area was part of the Northwest Auto Care Alliance Expo. So they had an event for their members that had several different skill trainings. They were teaching them about estimating, and I don't remember all of the different things that they had, but it was a time for the shops to come together and just increase their skills on several different areas. So we were able to be part of that, and it was a great opportunity for us. So Dave, do you want to go ahead?
Okay, thank you, Jean. So we were hoping to get more pollution prevention assessments. We were required to get 6, and we got those, and I'll talk about a couple of results. But it seems like the term P2 assessment is not very familiar in these smaller shops. We tried talking about a sustainability walkthrough or an environmental site visit or a resource assessment, and most of the facilities weren't interested, and I don't think they really understood what the benefits are of trying to calculate, where these wastes are generated, why they're generated, and what types of wastes there are, and where they go, and how much it costs. So we developed a 13-question questionnaire. We wanted for our 6 P2 assessments that we did, so we could have a uniform calculation. We're trying to develop some level of metrics for were these spray efficiency training effective on these smaller shops, and were our P2 assessment any kind of metric from these assessments. So next slide. So the first one I want to talk about is that airline maintenance facility. So, where we were talking about we went about, I think it was about 4 months after the SCT spray efficiency training at their facility, and then tried to determine from their database if they could calculate the dollar costs of paints and coatings sprayed, and then how much potentially was saved. We ended up going back to them and getting 8 months worth of data, and so their annual data reported that in gallons they were around 33 gallons a year. Now the maintenance they do is they spray tires and tire wells and aspects of the wings, not the entire plane. When they're doing maintenance, they touch up spots. And their paint has an epoxy to it, so they spend a lot on that. And the epoxy actually is has to be mixed, and once you open that, you have to either use it or throw it out. So their significant savings actually was when they're converting actually to smaller amounts of these epoxy paints, rather than buying by the gallon. They're buying by the quart now, and so that's a true prevention technique that they've developed. But they estimated that based on that spray efficiency training, if we calculate about a 10% reduction, the average reduction at facilities is about 20%. So they felt they were pretty efficient. So we use a 10% calculation, and so they were potentially saving about $3,000 in a year. They do spray quite a bit of hazardous air pollutants. They were the ones getting their NESHAP required training, and so they could calculate savings of about 1.16 pounds of chromium reduced based on this efficiency training. And then they were changing their spray booth filters about half as often, about 3 to 4 weeks instead of every 2 weeks. And so they attributed that not only to more efficiency, but also doing less painting. So that was, we tried to include the waste the waste is really a little bit more tricky on something like this. So we do have a few of those estimated numbers, and these are estimates that the supervisors provided to us. And so we think they're pretty good estimates, but they don't weigh their waste or anything like that. So we didn't add those calculations to this particular slide. Next. So this is a typical auto body shop. They had a spray efficiency training. Then we went back again about 4 months later. And so what is the annual quantity of paints and coatings sprayed on in gallons? And they reported to us about 1 to 2 quarts a week, or about 2 gallons per month. And that's about 24 per year, of course. And so what's the dollar cost savings? And their paints range from $50 to $300 per gallon, which is, that's pretty expensive. So looks like they could save significantly based on this training, depending on the type of paint, the color, the quality, and so forth. And this
Dave,
was, yes.
Sorry, you said 50 to 300 per gallon, but your slide says 50 to 300 per pint.
I'm sorry. That part of the slide is covered by my
Your
other day.
GoToWebinar question.
Yeah. Sorry. Thanks, G. Thanks for that. Because the numbers then add up for this 9,600 to 57,000 figure there. So about 192 pints. So that's really an average savings that these facilities could typically. And this was a small shop. The painter and his daughter were actually the main. The owner and the daughter were the main painters. They were the ones trained, and they were the ones there walking us through and giving us these estimates. And Angel was providing the translation because this was a Spanish-speaking shop. And so when we asked them, about the reduction in waste with the 20 to 25% reduction paint use, talked about maybe saving about $2,400 per year on waste reduction. So this was the same. We use the same metrics in 6 facilities, and we get another look at another facility when Michelle does her talk on the case study. Thanks.
Thanks, Dave. And Michelle, we're ready for you to talk about Woodfold.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I'll just do a quick recap of this project, and starting off with this relationship that we had with them from 15 years ago or so with Woodfold Manufacturing. So several of our staff had the privilege of partnering on this, and Woodfold is in Forest Grove, Oregon. They manufacture wood doors, like acoustic and accordion type doors and other custom designs. Even in our project with them 15 years ago, their environmental stewardship was very important to them, always has been, and certainly remains so today. So we did team up to find a few new opportunities for them, even though they're already operating pretty environmentally. So just the sequence or timeline for this effort, we first evaluated their operations and baseline data, and listened and learned about their current environmental challenges through a series of maybe 2 or 3 remotely conducted meetings. Then on the day of the visit, we spent a few hours in the morning during the walkthrough, and then in the afternoon, after a lunch break, the PPRC delivered the spray efficiency training to 4 of their operators and one of their managers as well, who just participated to try to understand, the workers' experience, the spray paint operators' experiences each day. Just a side note, the length of a walkthrough for a company always depends on the scope of their operations, how many processes they really want to look into, which gadgets we bring along, such as a thermal imaging camera or an ultrasonic air leak detector or other little gadgets that we have. But for Woodfold this time around, the walkthrough is just observing operations and asking a lot of questions. So after that, we compile all of our findings and began brainstorming with them and investigating the opportunities that we'd come up with. And for the ones that they were interested in pursuing, we vetted those further. This was still a full team effort involving Woodfold and even some suppliers and outside service providers. And then, of course, we present all of the final recommendations to the client, of course, which was Woodfold. Next slide, please. So yeah, we came up with 16 recommendations. 5 are implemented or in progress. A few others are still under consideration. And in these events, often, you know, maybe half of your recommendations are not even going to be viable, but I just wanted to throw out that we always still include them in our reports. We feel there's never a stupid question or idea, and you know, sometimes they can spur other ideas. And also, you know, the fresh eyes of a non-Woodfold person in their facility offers, you know, a different perspective for them to think more broadly about environmental improvements. So after the spray training, we calculated an 18.7% improvement in their transfer efficiency. And I have a results slide, which will show those details in a second. Excuse me. So the second one, Woodfold is a very small quantity generator, so they don't have to pay for any of their hazardous waste. It's a drop-off situation, self-haul. But we still managed to find a solution for one of their hazardous waste streams, which was resulting from their bio-based parts washing system. And they simply needed a more frequent infusion of the microbes in the system to more completely convert the grease and the oil into carbon dioxide and water. So we eliminated that waste stream. The third opportunity is actually a result of a recent energy audit they had from Oregon State University Energy Efficiency Center, which is an industrial assessment center. I can explain that further if anybody has any questions later. But by installing a capacitance something or other, sorry, I'm not an energy expert, near their main electricity meter, they'll be able to correct their power factor and save some energy and money. And Woodfold has taken advantage of Oregon energy resources, free resources, for as long as I can remember ever talking to them, including Energy Trust, the Oregon State University, and then local utilities. It's a focus of Woodfold, and they've done a lot of, they've had great improvements in energy efficiency over time. Recycling plastics, industrial plastics. You know, since China stopped accepting recycled plastics from the US many, many years ago, Woodfold hadn't explored recycling any of their plastics. Another issue for them was indoor space is limited. They didn't have a place to segregate these. So we actually found a recycler for them, and the lack of space inside was remedied by the recycler providing 2 outdoor crates that have actually drainage, and rain won't damage these rigid plastic streams. So that's wonderful. I'll have results on that in a second too. And then this was mostly instigated by Woodfold, but after an initial suggestion from us, but they do have a lot of cutoff waste for these aluminum channels that are installed on the side of some of their doors. So with proper ordering and forecasting, their supplier will be now providing exact lengths needed, so they won't have to labor for cutting off, for cutting the pieces, and they won't have that waste stream to deal with. And finally, an air leak sneak or a compressed air leak check is planned in the near future with their utility Forest Grove Power and Light. And they'll also look at kind of optimizing the entire compressed air system. And we suggested that they consolidate from 3 to 1 or 2 adhesives, and they also have internal lean expertise, so they're planning on ramping that up a little bit in the near future as well. Next slide, please. And I'll be quick. This is it. This is our results. Spray paint efficiency improvement, that 18.7% transfer efficiency improvement from the operators will result in about 62 gallons of paint avoided, $3,700 cost savings. That little 10 gallons of parts washing hazardous waste, as I mentioned, there's no cost savings, but they're not generating that, and they don't have to haul it off anymore or manage it. The higher value industrial plastics, the 2 streams that they can recycle, did I mention? It's acrylic and ABS. That'll be collectively 5,000 pounds per year and saving them $500 or so. They're not getting any revenue for the plastic. It's just that they don't have to landfill it anymore. Power factor correction will save about $33,000 a year. The cutoff waste, 703 pounds, $3,200. And then, of course, we won't know the compressed air leak and air system optimization results for a little bit here. But just at this point in time, that's, $10,500 a year saved for Woodfold. So we're happy, and I think they're very happy with it as well. And that's it on the Woodfold.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. That was our Michelle. Thank you for that great case study on Woodfold. And now, Ed Gonzalez, back to you to give the path forward, and then we'll have time for questions.
Yeah, thanks, Jean. So this slide we named the path forward, which can also be considered as our lessons learned slide. In the course of a 2-year period, these were some of the nuggets that we were able to attain. Offer training or something of value as a gateway to engage the businesses. When you finally get the attention of a shop, we learned that you have to offer them value. They give you their time, which is really a precious commodity to them, so to speak. So by showing them, data, case studies, or any other piece of information that can show them how their peers and competitors have improved their operations, that seems to have a positive effect and increase our chances of connecting with the shop. Most importantly, if at all possible, show them the potential money savings that they can attain by participating in the project. Show them how much money other shops have saved over time. And that's why I think case studies are very important, because if you can show them, hey, this shop by doing A, B, C, and D saved so much money, that seems to really open their eyes and get their ears perked. So yeah, so that's a good point. And then our second bullet point, if the sector partner with trade associations to gain access to businesses. If a sector you're working with has trade associations, you got to connect with them. You'll have to show them value too. Establish a relationship with them. Show them how you're able to help promote their services, and even offer you're going to promote them and even try to increase their membership. More often than not, once you give that kind of or establish that kind of communication with them, they will respond favorably to you. The third bullet point, re-engage with businesses with whom you already have a relationship. And this one's kind of tough because we all survive on grants, and when the grant is over, sometimes you don't have any funding to be able to continue providing service to some of these customers. And too often we hear that from our customers is that, hey, we worked with you and all of a sudden you're no longer around. And that's been a problem all across the country with our type of services. But so it's important that you continue the relationship with them. It doesn't really cost much to be able to answer through emails or through the phone call provide them answers to any of the issues that they're facing. and continue writing proposals so that you can continue working with these customers. And over time, you're going to be able to establish a really strong connection with them as well with the trade associations. The fourth point, partner with local business development or community development organizations engaged in EJ communities. Community development organizations, they prove to be very important to us because these organizations have localized knowledge about the unique needs, culture, and challenges that their constituency faces. Working with them gave us good insight on how to approach the shops in these EJ communities, and quite often they were the bridge, and so that's another important point. And the fifth point. Have a Spanish speaker on the team. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Spanish speaker, but somebody that speaks the native language of the shops you're trying to connect with. In our case, it was Spanish. So this is very important because we were fortunate to have Angel, and he's a native Spanish speaker, as we've said. And he was able to effectively communicate and connect with these EJ communities, and he was able to speak with them at a level that was detailed enough where they saw the value in participating in the project. So with that, that's what we've gained in terms of nuggets of information over the course of the period, and we just love to share that information with you all. And I guess now it's next slide. It's time for our questions. So if anybody wants to have any questions, submit them with a question feature on your panel.
And we do have a few questions. I'll just read them out here, and we'll let our panel answer as appropriate. One question is, would PPRC provide spray efficiency training in other parts of the country?
You want me to take that, Ed?
Oh yeah, that's yours.
Okay, we have. We do quite a bit of this with grant work, but or with environmental agencies under a contract. But we have done. I've done training all over the United States as part of a fee-for-service program. And most of that has been with industrial facilities or aerospace facilities, that sort of thing, because those facilities have a training budget and they don't think twice about the cost of bringing us out to do the training. Collision repair shops, they have a much more limited budget. So usually they are either grant funded, or we did in one case get a series of shops to commit to a single location and did it that way. But yeah, we've done training all over the United States.
And then Ken, along with that, there was another question about the cost of the training and what other kinds of grant funding might be available to help people start a similar program.
Well, probably that depends on how creative you are with your grant writing, but certainly, source reduction grants, pollution prevention grants, those type of grants are very helpful in getting funding.
How much is the equipment?
If you're looking for the equipment, the base package is about 30 grand. And then you can add modules or different things on to that. But I will say that the latest iteration of equipment and software are really pretty amazing. You have, for example, the industrial. You've got everything from large I-beams and other pieces to parts, and you actually can run a conveyor line on the training for those people that have a conveyor line. And we did that at, actually it was a live training at Canyon Creek cabinets in Monroe, but yeah, most of the stuff they shot was on a conveyor line, and the training ran really well. But yeah, the base price of the equipment is about 30 grand. I can't really give you an estimate, but I can tell you who can.
Okay, and I'm going to keep doing questions, but I'm going to go ahead and put this next slide up that gives our contact information. So that was Ken Graham that was speaking just then. And so Patricia, you had that specific question. So take down Ken's email and you can contact him in a minute. And then I wanted Tony Pendola wanted to provide an encouragement for everyone to also work with the Clean Air mandated small business environmental assistance programs. And I don't think that every state has them as nicely as some states. Some states have better programs than others. But that is a good, that's a good program to work with. Sometimes your small business administration, small business development centers have contacts also with these smaller shops. And then Greg, Sydney wanted to ask how long the project took. Sydney, by the time we got it figured out what we needed to do better, it probably was closer to a year. But if you're starting, 18 months, we had an initial start that didn't work out so well. So you've got to, if you're going to partner with people and fit into the programs that they're offering, you got to have some time to get that in place. And then Ken, maybe you can help me. Greg Hayward from Gresham is on, and he said he could unmute potentially. Do you know how to unmute him? Because he wanted to say a few words.
Oh.
Greg was one of our partners here. Let me look if I can find him in the attendee list.
You go to the attendees list and press the microphone.
There, Greg, you're unmuted.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Hey, look at that technology, amazing. Hey, I just wanted to say hello and thanks to PPRC big time. My name is Greg Hayward. I work for the city of Gresham, Oregon, doing business sustainability outreach. And I just wanted to mention a couple of things that I think could be helpful for other people that might be on the line. If you might be working in local government, if you might be working as an economic development coordinator, or other things like that. PPRC provided a lot of help in providing the technical expertise. And I think where local governments and other partners can come in is building off of their connections within the community. PPRC provided flyers in English and Spanish, and I was able to go out and about to the various auto shops in my community and have some conversations and hand off the information. And we were, able to get a number of those shops involved. And from that, we were able to, continue to kind of have a conversation on other types of ways they might be able to be supported. And I really feel that those on the ground, face-to-face conversations were really crucial for getting people to that event in Gresham. So I just wanted to kind of offer that as a really important way to, make this happen. Also working through trusted partners within the community. The East County Business Bridge works with a lot of businesses within our community, often a lot of underserved and developing businesses. And so they were able to leverage those relationships to help get them to the training. Some other interesting ones were, I went to the local auto paint provider. So essentially a small shop, you go to this particular business or businesses that provide the paint. And I had a conversation with them and they're like, yeah, we talk to people all the time. Like, please give us your information. We'll help get the word out as people come into the shop. That was, I think, gold mine. Having our Spanish speaker, so crucial, so important for really helping make this happen. Angel was amazing in helping kind of connect and ensure that the information was being appropriately communicated and help make new connections. And I also just want to say too, in the work that we're doing, we work in the environmental sector. We see the environmental benefit of this work. I think we're really partial to that. But a lot of the data shows that talking from the financial aspect is really important. For example, in the food waste sector here in Oregon, there was a big study done, and we had all this environmental messaging, and it turned out that consumers were really focused on the financial savings that can be involved through food waste reduction. So really making sure that you're communicating the financial benefit of spray efficiency training, of pollution prevention, all that kind of stuff can be a universal. I think that's really helpful to communicate. So I just wanted to kind of follow up on some of these things. If other folks might be similar to me, or maybe, thinking about how they might be able to do this work in their community, those are some of the tidbits that I found helpful to help support the great work that PPRC and other, systems like this are doing.
Thank you, Greg, and we really appreciated your partnership. I think we even had a couple of house painters come for this spray efficiency training, which was great. They weren't our target audience, but they enjoyed taking the training, and they learned some things too.
Gene, I'd just like to add, this is Dave Kuntz. When we were gathering metrics, we were focused on, the pollution prevention or waste prevention. But one noticeable effect of the spray efficiency training that really goes unmentioned a lot is that the supervisor at the airline facility said that the quality of the paint spray went up, and there was a noticeable lack of spotting in the paint qualities.
Yeah, that's an important point.
Yeah, that's a great benefit.
So that's another thing that we can.
Well, I think we've pretty much concluded the presentation. We want to thank everyone for your attendance, and I would like to remind you that this webinar is being recorded and will be made available to you. I'm not sure, I guess on the PPRC YouTube website, so we will be perhaps making that available.
Yeah, you'll get an email. If you registered for the conference, you'll get an email afterwards to let you know where that recording is available. But it'll be on our project page. We've got a project tile on our website, and it'll be there with the other resources. We have other resources there. The couple of fact sheets that we didn't mention, but Dave indicated that he put together this really nice checklist for when we do the P2 assessments. That's a fact sheet that's going to be on the website as well. So we have several resources there, and we'll send you all a follow-up email after the webinar to let you know about those things.
Yeah, with that, may everyone have a wonderful rest of your week and great weekend. Thank you all.